Hello there and welcome back to World Talks with me, Anna Kalczynska. This time we turn our attention to Hungary. Let there be peace, freedom and unity. With these words, Victor Orbán addressed the general public, alluding to a historic battle cry of the 1848 revolution. The Hungarian leader used the National Day in Hungary for a battleground for political gain. Now we are joined by Zoltán Tarr, MEP, Group of the European People's Party, Deputy Chairman, Tisza Party as well. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So let us be clear. What are the protesters in Budapest demanding?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think what we are demanding for is freedom. And that was the demand of the revolutionaries of 1448. And this is the same wish what we have, to have free press, to have free rights for the people, and also to have the right for good education and the good health care. This is what we want, and we don't want what Orbán is doing, that he is separating the people of Hungary. He's driving Hungary out of the EU, and he is not cooperating with our neighbors in a way he should cooperate.
All right, so I said that the Hungarian leader used this day today, a national day in Hungary, for looking for political gain. So did his opponent. That means, of course, the Péter Magyar, the opposition Tisza Party. So in Budapest today, a large crowd, a large rally of his supporters, whom Orbán compared today to insects that have survived for too long. So what was the reaction of your colleagues when listening to this sort of language?
I think if anyone listens to this sort of language, we have a very bad sense of memory, I think. We had these kind of words in the 20th century, and these words and these times were not happy times in the life of Europe. It is especially disturbing how Orbán is characterizing us, how Orbán is characterizing the civil society. He was using the same language when he talked about the jury and the jury system in Hungary. He talked about the people who wanted different than what he wants, and he called us all insects. This is absolutely not acceptable. But I'm very happy to say that our people were not angry in a way that they were forcefully angry. We came up with a positive feeling, with a positive message that people want to change what is happening now in Hungary. They don't want to get into this sort of language and this sort of fight what Orbán is trying to start, because we want a country where people can cooperate, where people can turn to each other and can understand each other.
So speaking about the change, we have 1 year until general elections in Hungary right now. So we would like to get the mood from the streets. The Tisa versus Fidesz polls crossed in January, and since the trend has been reversed. So what are the reasons for it, first of all, and can this trend now be upheld?
Well, actually, we're still leading the polls. There are various polling institutions, and in most of them, they calculate the way that we are leading the polls, except the ones which are more related to the government. For us, what is important is to voice what the people feel, and that they feel that there is a very, very big corruption from the side of the government. Orbán and his family is getting richer and richer, taking a lot of money out of the budget of the country, while people are suffering and struggling with buying food. In the second half of the month, the prices of the food, the grocery prices are rising extremely. We have the highest inflation, food inflation in Europe, and that is really not something what the people like and enjoy. We also have a huge rise in energy prices, especially for small and middle-sized enterprises, and the whole economy seems to collapse. The government is forced to get loans from other governments and institutions, and which makes the country very vulnerable. And it's really questionable how Orbán can survive. So what we do and what we try to do is that we try to gather the people as much as it is possible and bring them hope that if they vote when the elections will come, then we will be able to bring changes. First of all, by joining the European Prosecutor's Office. Secondly, that we will do the harshest measures possible against corruption. And also we will do the utmost we can to break down the inflation of the food prices. And obviously we have to, just like in Poland, we also have to take care of many other aspects of society. First of all, the life of the media. We don't have free media at the moment. The state media is controlled by the government and only telling what the government tells them to say, which makes it impossible for us to reach the people. So we are using social media to do that, but they are also coming up and introducing trolls and all kinds of bots in order to break down activities in the social media.
All right. Victor Orbán said he planned to organize a national referendum about whether Ukraine should enter and join European Union. So do you think he can win by playing this card? How divisive is the issue of Ukrainians in EU, in Hungary?
Well, Orbán is very good in tapping into issues which are divisive in the society. So that's one of the way he's playing politics in the past 10 years, actually. So this is a divisive issue, obviously, and this is something which, in our understanding, not the most crucial thing for Ukraine, and definitely not the most crucial thing in Hungary to talk about. We all think that Ukraine should live in peace and should find peace, and we hope that what has been started in the past days will be finished, and Russia will accept the ceasefire terms, so that a new opportunity will rise for Ukraine to start anew. But for us in Hungary to talk about the EU membership of Ukraine, this is really not a top priority at the moment.
On Friday, the EU managed to pass sanctions on Russian oligarchs and the Moscow elite after striking an 11-hour deal with Hungary. So do you think that Hungary will maintain this course of action?
Well, I think Orbán is very much trying to find ways to persuade the EU to get those monies, those funds which are frozen, to make them available for Hungary. So he's trying to play, as he's always doing it, a two kinds of games. First of all, he tries to play as much as possible to please Brussels, but at the same time, he keeps on criticizing Brussels. For example, today, he read out 12 points. That is a historic part of our celebration. There were 12 points during the revolution in the 19th century. So he read out 12 points, and those 12 points were against Brussels. He was very critical on Brussels. He said that Brussels wants to intervene in the life of Hungary, and this is these two-folded games is what he's doing all the time. And I think he might be able to manage. Unfortunately, as we all know, the EU structure is not put together in a way that would support this kind of dishonest dealing. So unfortunately, we are not too hopeful that the EU can hold up. But we hope that Hungary and the Hungarian people will get the money. But we also hope that there will be a way where the government will not be involved in channeling this money into Hungary. Because if money is given to this government, the government will steal this money. But the Hungarian people deserve the money. The Hungarian SMEs deserve the money, and they need the money in order to develop, in order to stay within the EU, and in order to stay on the line of Europe.
Yes, we know the policy of Victor Orbán, but with tensions in Europe rising, time for check is approaching. Now, Hungary, as a member state of the European Union, should take part in common European defence policy and contribute funds to it. But we hear from Victor Orbán that ahead of the EU summit next week, it will be problematic and that Europe cannot afford this kind of sums spent on defense. How is it problematic and why?
I think for Orbán, everything is problematic. What is not in line with his ideas, and he was always advocating for a strong Europe. He wanted to have and he wanted to challenge those powers in the world which are not in the interest of Europe. But when the time comes to support Europe to get a strong defense policy as well as everything what is needed for a strong Europe, he's critical. He's building an alliance with other countries like Russia, China, Turkey, countries which are not within the EU merits, and that's the policy he's doing all the time. So he always tries to find other ways to weaken, to make things more difficult, more complicated. I think, and this is our firm understanding, that Hungary is and should be part of the EU and should be part of the EU defense policy. Unfortunately, the EU realizes that Hungary, the Hungarian government, is not willing to take what needs to be done, and that's why our government is left out from the discussions, as we can see it, while we would be very much part of those discussions about the defense in Europe, and would think that we need to contribute what we need to contribute to this defense. Obviously, every contribution has to be discussed within the country, as I think it is expected in other countries as well. So the people should know what this money is going to be spent, and also should understand what this whole defense in Europe would mean for the future.
Speaking today at the rally, Orbán said it was time to eliminate shadow army of NGOs, journalists, judges, politicians paid by the United States and Brussels. So he referred to his plans to crack down on NGOs and media who received funding from the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID. So is it a real threat, and do you perceive it as such?
Definitely, it is a real threat. This is, again, something from his demagogy and something what he's always saying. So we definitely think that this is a real threat. He already appointed a person who is responsible for finding out which organizations or news outlets get funding from USAID or other American sources, and he's trying to gather all these and trying to hunt down these. We don't see the actual legal background of it at the moment, but they are talking about it for a long time now, and they are trying to spread fear among the free press as well as among the NGOs, so that they won't be so critical, they won't be so open about what they think and being so critical about the government. He definitely will try. It will be not easy for him because many of us are very vigilant on these kind of things, but he definitely will try, and he definitely will try everything what he can do in order to break down the opposition. It is amazing that even from one day to the other, they can introduce new regulations which limit the rights of NGOs, limits the rights of everyone who is in opposition with him. So we personally, as a party, as well as members of the party, we also experience this kind of acts when he's trying to limit us, he's trying to control us, he's trying to monitor all our activities. This is what we are saying is not acceptable. That's why on this very day we were talking about freedom, and that we keep on fighting for freedom, and that we want freedom for all people in Hungary.
Zoltán Tarr, Deputy Chairman of the opposition Tisza Party, was our guest tonight, and MEP group of the European People's Party as well. Thank you so much, sir, for contributing to our episode.
Thank you for having us.
And that concludes this edition of World Talks. But please stay tuned to TVP World for more.